And welcome to a new episode of Digital Coffee Gaming Brew. And I'm your host, Brett Dice. If you could please subscribe to this podcast on all your favorite podcasting apps, leave a 5-star review. It really does help with the rankings. Let me know how I'm doing. But this week, we're going to be talking about, China being mad at TSMC and why it matters a little bit more about gaming. We're talking about Fable being delayed until 2026, talking about the Warner Brothers studio closures and what that actually matters to the games. Also, Metal Gear Solid Delta PC requirements, 8-bit Do's new Ultimate 2 controller. Talk a little bit about that. And the main thing I'm going to be talking about is, AMD finally released its information on the 9070 and 9070 XT. We'll be talking a little bit more about that, but let's get on with the show. That's good. So China, is not happy with Taiwan. China thinks Taiwan is giving away its semiconductor industry to the U.S. China views TSMC as a souvenir used by Taiwan to secure political support, especially from the U.S. administration. TSMC has significantly increased investments in the United States, advanced chip manufacturing, including the 4 nanometer and the future 2 nanometer processes being moved to the U.S., particularly in Arizona. TSMC might evolve into the United States Semiconductor Manufacturing Co., according to Chinese claims. TSMC is caught between U.S. tariff threats and Chinese criticism. The Trump administration's support has influenced TSMC to align more with the U.S. A back production facility in the U.S. ensures resilience, if Taiwan and Chinese relations worsens. U.S. influence and strategic plans. TSMC aims to align with U.S. semiconductor goals considering U.S. regulations. The company is restricting chip orders below 16 nanometers from China to comply with these regulations. The U.S. proposed options for TSMC futures, including potential technology transfer to Intel. Global semiconductor shift. Taiwan's role in chip production is decreasing as the U.S. becomes the center of TSMC's expansion. This shift in semiconductor dynamics could reshape the global industry. China worries TSMC deepening ties with the U.S. undermines Taiwan's autonomy and its significance in global technology. Basically, China's just mad because Taiwan sees them as a threat, and China has been threatening to take them over since China doesn't see Taiwan as a separate country, sees it as part of China, even though it technically isn't because of the implication after World War II, where the communist Chinese regime took over and the imperial dynasty went over to Taiwan, and they were technically two different countries, but China never basically fully supported that. The issue is that China wants Taiwan because of its advanced processing and its semiconductor business, but Taiwan doesn't want to be under China, and the United States doesn't want China to have this as well, given the fact that mostly Taiwan's innovation has come from the US, Japan, and Europe. So China just wants technology without actually innovating anything, because unfortunately that's what China does. China does not innovate on anything. It steals everything. It's always how it's been. Even though China keeps on saying that it's this wonderful, innovative place, it's not at all. It just steals everything. They are dirty little rats. Quote me on that if you want to, because it's on voice anyways. This is good for us, bad for China, because eventually there is going to be a war, unfortunately, for this. And China is a little bit cornered because of several different factors. Its industries or its economy has been as great as it says it is. its birth rates is even worse than ours because of its one China or child policy in China. And we are fully focused on them, which is worse for them in general. So this could either lead to two things. One is a war, definitely. Two is China will just not do it because we are fully focused on them. But I'm not really sure which one because it is a very precarious thing. But there probably are contingency plans within the U.S. and Taiwan to destroy foundries if China ever does take over Taiwan. So complete utter destruction of these foundries would hinder China a lot because they have no idea what they're doing most of the time and they need it intact for that. But for us as gamers, how this is because almost everybody uses TSMC's foundries for this because they are the most advanced state-of-the-art. Intel used to be this, but they lost a lot of ground on this one as well. But it should be interesting to see where this all aligns. Obviously, TSMC wants to align with the United States over China because the United States gives them the freedom and the flexibility to be, well, great. And China doesn't. China, basically, you have to abide by Chinese government rules. They're very draconian and you have no choice. You always have to work with the Chinese government. So obviously, they don't want to work with China. To China's big surprise, who wants to work with you when you have a choice? You never want to work with China. And they steal everything. Anyways, moving on to Fable games. So Fable was announced, I think, a few years ago, something like that. But it was originally planned to release this year. It has been delayed to 2026. And a possible PS5 day one release as well. So that could be interesting to see. Microsoft has a new multi-platform strategy, given the fact that they have, with the including Activision and Blizzard, it's no big surprise that they want to do more multi-platform than less because they just have so many platforms and games, and why not, or I should say publishers and developers are now under there as just developers. Why not be multi-platform instead? Given the fact that also they have the cloud gaming, their reliance on hardware-specific platforms to have dominance is silly now because of cloud gaming plus Windows. Why would you care about one specific device, and why would you limit your business to this? So the speculation is that eventually will come out to PS5, PC, and Xbox. Maybe Switch 2, really not sure about that one. But the other thing could be is that they are fixing the ugly protagonist in the new Fable games that everybody has made fun of because it just looks so ugly for a woman. And everybody's like, why are you making women ugly in video games? We don't like this. Plus, they're probably fixing other things since Avowed has not been doing very well. No matter what they say, Avowed has not done well. Steam charts have not even made it close to the top played games. I think at its peak was maybe hitting 20,000 concurrent players, which is not very many. So they do have issues with games just not doing very well. Avowed was lambasted for being an RPG very light on, you couldn't really steal from anybody. You couldn't really lockpick their doors. You couldn't kill anybody within towns. It was very bare bones, almost 2000. Like if a game was made in the 2000s type game, it felt weird for a game, especially an RPG coming out in the current age, not having a lot of the features that Skyrim had, and that came out in 2011. So it was weird. All right, moving on to studio closures from Warner Brothers. Yes, it was announced that Warner Brothers is shutting down Monolith Production, Play First Games, and Warner Brothers Games Studio to focus on profitability and key franchises. The shift comes more into making games for Harry Potter, Mortal Kombat, DC, and Game of Thrones. So what's weird is that Monolith Productions was creating a Wonder Woman game, but there were rumors that the Wonder Woman game was not really doing very well. It was costing them a lot of money. The game wasn't where it was supposed to be, and Monolith hasn't created a game since 2017, which 8 years is a long time for development. If that was the problem, is that it just wasn't there. It was, I think, racking up $200 million production costs, which is quite a bit. And the sad part is that Monolith could have actually focused on the third entry in their really well done Middle Earth series, which is Shadows of Mordor and Shadows of War. They also created Fear, which is another amazing first-person shooter game. They did condemn Criminal Origins, which no one really cared about that one. Play First Games, which was founded in 2019, was acquired by Microsoft in 2024, developed free-to-play fighter Multiverse, which basically was being canceled being shut down in May 30th, 2025, so this year. And then Warner Brothers Game Studio, which is primarily focused on free-to-play mobile gaming development, so they didn't really care about that, which is understandable. But the problem is that there was just so many rumors about Monolith Studios just not doing very well. The Wonder Woman game was just not good at the current state, which is funny because if they were focusing on DC, Monolith Studios should have been fine. But they said that this was a strategic thing, but I'm like, sounds like it was kind of like you're just getting rid of dead weight too. Since Multiverse just wasn't doing as well as it could have been in the beginning, and just cutting dead weight studios. And it seems like, unfortunately, Monolith Studios was one of them, given the fact that it was founded in 1994, and Fear is an amazing game. If you have not played it, get a copy of it, because it's a really good game. It came out in the era where Matrix was like the popular thing, and everybody was trying to do the slow motion bullet thing, but Fear also had a really good AI system that would basically, the AI would find covers, throw grenades, try to flank you. Like, it made it really hard, a really hard game, but a really fun game as well. Unfortunately, when we are now never going to get the finished saga of the Middle Earth Shadow series that I was hoping to actually get, because Shadows of Mordor and Shadows of War, again, were very good. They did very well. It put Monolith Studios on the map as well. I think they used their own engine for that too. They also created the Nemesis system, which is still protected for a while for Warner Brothers, so no one else can use the Nemesis system. But I would love to see another game of this where we actually saw the Nemesis system and saw it even better than what Shadows of War actually did. Unfortunately, we're never going to get that now, so this is where we're at. Monolith, you should have just stuck with the Shadows of War Middle Earth series instead of doing the Wonder Woman one. Really would love to see the continuation of that series, but unfortunately, Shadows of War will be the last one of the series. It really is unfortunate too. All right, moving on to, is really piggybacking off of what happened with Warner Brothers closing down the studios. GOG is putting Fear in the preservation program to make sure that the games are preserved and you can still play them as well in the future, let's just say, because without it, eventually games just don't work really well on modern operating systems, as we've seen with Command & Conquer games or anything like that. But it's good to see that we're actually seeing GOG actually making sure that Monolith Studios' legacy is not being left behind, since Fear was probably a really great horror first-person shooter game. Fear 3 was probably the worst of the series, unfortunately, but we'll see what happens with that. Also, what I forgot to mention is that EA came out with updates for its Command & Conquer series and actually you can actually make mods and open source its source code on the older Command & Conquer series games. So we'll be able to actually play Command & Conquer for the future, which is great as well. I just totally forgot about that, but that was also a huge announcement. W for EA for actually doing that, because You don't really see EA, open sourcing or even allowing mods in their games anymore. They used to do that. It used to be a huge thing, especially with Battlefield 2, but has not happened in a long while. All right, moving on to Metal Gear Solid Delta, which is coming out on August 28th, 2025. It'll be released on PC, PS5, and Xbox Series X and S. There will be a standard and a Delta or Deluxe edition with a 48-hour early access. If you get the Deluxe edition, PC requirements is going to be Windows 10/11 64-bit required. Processor is going to be the Intel 5 8600 or the AMD Ryzen 5 3600, 16 gigs of RAM. Graphics is going to be the RTX 2060 or the compatible or comparable version of AMD one. I probably see like the 67, maybe 5700 series, but anything below that probably wouldn't be able to play it. 16 gigs of RAM, as well as 100 gigs of free storage space. SSD recommended, unfortunately. We also have, for the recommended requirements, is going to be the Windows 10/11 64-bit, the Intel i7 8700K, or the AMD Ryzen 5 3600, which is the same as the minimum. Interesting. We also have, again, 16 gigs of RAM, the RTX 3080. So it's not the newest one, which is great. DirectX version 12, and then 100 gigs of RAM SSD recommended. This game is going to be running on the Unreal 5 engine, and it's just going to have a lot of storage, but there is no AMD equivalence not mentioned yet, so we'll have to see. But I'm thinking it's going to be the Ryzen 5700 or the 6700 and above for the minimum, and probably going to be around the 7000 series to 9000 series for the recommended one. Should be interesting to see how well this will actually do, but I'm actually excited for this one. Plus, with Doom the Dark Ages as well are going to be two of the highlights for 2025 right now, because we really got not much yet. Everything else is either Helldivers 2 or Baldur's Gate 3, because RPGs now are really, they haven't really hit well, except for Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 has been a shining moment for 2025 so far. Avowed has been a turd, which I don't really care what they say. It's a success. I'm like, yeah, it's not a success. Sorry, guys. All right, moving on to the 8-bit Do Ultimate 2 wireless controller. It's going to be around $60. It's already out right now. It is going to come in white, black, and purple. It's going to have a USB cable. Connectivity is going to have 2.4 gigahertz wireless PC with low latency 1 millisecond via 8-speed technology, Bluetooth for Android devices. Also is going to have the magnetic sticks upgraded to the TRM electromagnetic analog sticks, providing smoother feel, better precisions, and reducing stick drift. RGB lighting rings around the analog sticks. And then customizability is going to be the 8-bit Do Ultimate Software version 2 allows the following on PC, Android: remap buttons, adjust stick and trigger sensitivity, motion control, dead zone, rumble sensitivity, save up to 3 custom profiles, extra buttons, 4 extra buttons, 2 remap back triggers, 2 extra shoulder button triggers, holo effect triggers lock for instant switch back analog and linear button functionality. Battery 1000 mAh battery for extended playtime, comparable to 480 mAh in previous models, so it's a quite significant higher battery than the previous one. And then pro features: 1000 hertz polling rates on both wired and wireless or 2.4 gigahertz models, 6-axis motion controls, rumble, and turbo functionality. So it seems like a pretty good controller for a pro or ultimate, whatever it is. So that actually is pretty good. $60 is not that much. Now it's only for Android and Windows, so there is no iOS and or Apple ones for this one, but I have the original Ultimate one. It's actually pretty good. So if you're looking for an even better one, this is actually a pretty good one. To plus $60. How could you go wrong with that? All right, so we're going to be talking about the main thing is going to be AMD's announcement on the RDA 4 slash 97 and 9070 and 9070 XT GPUs. So it was finally announced, and to no one's surprise, it's actually going to be pretty good cards that we know of because we only have AMD's words on this. So take it with a grain of salt when they say it's so much awesome, it's so much better, because even NVIDIA says it about theirs. But the RDNA 4 architecture aims to enhance enthusiast level gaming experience with improved ray tracing and machine learning capabilities. Key features include enhanced command processing, more efficient compute units, and significant improvements in shading and ray tracing performance. RDA 4 architecture is designed to make games run faster, smoother, with enhancements in memory, interlace efficiency, and compression techniques. So, the RX 970 will be priced at $549, and the RDX 970 XT will be priced at $600. Now, the 9070, sorry, I don't want to say 970. The 9070 is going to be 21% performance increase in over 30 games compared to its predecessor, excelling in both faster raster and ray trace games. The 9070 XT provides even higher performance, achieving up to 42% performance in gaming at native 4K, making it a compelling choice for gamers. It's also said that the FSR is going to have, the 3.1 is going to have upgradable API. So basically, if games have it, it'll be easier to upgrade to the newest FSR as well. AMD is also integrated AI-driven features across its hardware and software to enhance gaming performance and experience, including the new FSR 4 technology for upscaling. The new Adrenaline driver for RDNA 4 will set a new standard for driver performance, focusing on stability and gaming compatibility through enhanced testing and user feedback mechanism. So what this does is that they actually have a feature request or a bug feature now in their software, which I was like, why was that in there before? That's a little weird. But yes, they're going to have more user feedbacks and beta tests on it if you want to test their beta features. Now, future-proofing gaming with RDNA 4, the RX 9000 series supports the latest DisplayPort and HDMI technologies, enabling compatibility with high refresh rate monitors and an upcoming game standard. So it's going to have 2.1A for DisplayPort and 2.1B for HDMI. So on both of them, AMD's collaboration with game developers ensures that new hardware and software technologies will be fully utilized in future titles, enhancing the overall gaming experience. They showed off Crimson Desert. It looked great. They did a lot of hoopla on it, but the main is that it's priced pretty competitively compared to the 5070, because they only are going to be matching the 50 or comparing it to 5070. But if it's starting at $549 for the 9070 and $600 for the 9070 XT, and you could potentially hit 5080 performances, not quite sure about that one yet. We'll have to see with testing. This could be a really compelling thing because, unfortunately for NVIDIA right now, you have reports of burning cables from your graphics cards, missing components within your graphics cards, and low stock. It's not looking good for NVIDIA. Even I'm going, maybe I should switch to AMD right now, because really with the high price points and just not being able to get a card, it's really, really dumb. Like, I didn't really understand their marketing plan, because I was like, I get why you want the scarcity thing, but that only works for so long. And if you're having issues with your cards, it doesn't look good for you where people are like, ooh, AMD, looks, they're going to have availability and it's actually a decent price point and I get a lot of great things with it, supposedly. We'll see how well the real-time tests do, but even I'm looking at AMD and I usually am like, NVIDIA is really great. I don't think I'm ever going to switch. And then the 5000 series cards hit and I'm like, AMD's looking really good right now. The NVIDIA broadcast, I really don't care about that too much. A lot of it is cool and stuff, but if you just get really good equipment, it doesn't really matter about that anymore. So AMD, you did it right this time with the announcements. I'm really happy about that, especially with your AI capabilities within your 9070 XT, which will make even processes even better. But plus with your integration with your GPUs could actually make it even more compelling feature because they'll work better together. But the main thing you guys have to do is you have to hit it out of the park with your drivers. Your driver updates have been terrible for the most part, and they've been a lot of game-breaking stuff. But NVIDIA has not really been hitting it really well either with the 5000 series card doing the black screens. So this could be your moment to shine, AMD, and if Intel, you do an even better job of hitting NVIDIA pretty hard, we could be seeing the darling NVIDIA slipping with their reputation. Because again, they said that they're going to have enough availability for everybody. There is no reference card really, so AMD is not going to be making their own cards. They're going to be leaving it to the third-party people to make it too. So we could be seeing higher overclockings with this one. Plus, 2 8-pins, awesome for AMD. It looks like it's only a 2-slotter as well, even better. And the 9070 XT is 300 wattage, and the 9070 regular ones under that is like 250-ish wattage, which makes it even more compelling because it doesn't take that much power. Like in NVIDIA, if you want the 5080, you have to make sure you have a 1000-watt thing. I'm like, dude, like you can't keep on making me buy more PSUs just to make sure I can run your card because your card is really power hungry. AMD is the better way of going with everything they're doing as long as they can keep this up. The issue a lot of times with AMD GPUs is they're just not as good as NVIDIA, but if this time they can actually really good, I'm listening. And I think you should be too. Because really, I'm getting sick and tired of NVIDIA being this like, ooh, look how great we are. Here's our really advanced GPUs. Good luck trying to buy them because all the scalpers are going to buy them or they're going to give them all to the YouTubers. And then I think I'm just going to wait because why am I going to even try to get one of your graphics cards when it's not even available and it sells out in 5 minutes to scalpers who then sell it for 10 times the price? I wouldn't do it. I just wait for AMD and see if they can actually make a better compelling argument, which they have. They've done a really good job of making a very good, compelling argument. So we'll see if they can actually keep this momentum going because I'm all ears. A lot of people are going to be all ears for this. And this looks like a really great time for AMD to shine in the GPU market. They already did a really good job in the CPU market. They haven't done as good of a job in the GPU market. So we'll see how well they do this time around. But anyways, what do you think? Do you think AMD has a shot with the GPU or their graphics cards, or do you think it's still NVIDIA all the way? Let me know in the comments below. But thank you for listening to Digital Coffee Gaming Brew. I really do appreciate it. Sorry I've been sick, so if I sound weird, I'm just getting over a cold. But anyways, thank you for listening, and please subscribe to this podcast and all your favorite podcasting apps. 5 really just with the rings. Let me know how I'm doing, and join me next week to talk about what's going on in the PC gaming industry. All right, guys, stay safe. Get the graphics card that actually serves you the best. It's NVIDIA or AMD, and see you next week. Later.